Okay, folks, so I don't look all that showy right now, right? I'm just wearing a Beacon Streetlight t-shirt, sitting in a camp in Vermont, looking kind of scrungy. Perfect outfit to talk to you folks about what showmanship means to me. Anybody who's ever seen me play knows that I flash up when I do a show. I look good, usually wearing a suit, hat, tie, boots. Look great. But that's not what showmanship is about to me. For me, showmanship, or the concept of putting on a showy show, if you will, is more about conquering my own inner fears and demons about walking out onto a stage. If you've ever seen me, you think, wow, that guy's got some real confidence and knows what he's doing out there, and couldn't be further from the truth. I've been terrified to walk out on a stage ever since I started walking out on stages. My first show, if you will, was a sit-in at the Stratton Mountain Inn with an old friend, Andy Avery, and John Soshin. And John had invited me to play. Andy didn't know me, and the two of them were fighting on stage about whether or not I should even play, which did very little to relieve my anxieties, I might add. At the time, I think I was wearing a polo shirt and slacks and looked like, I don't know, a dorky real estate broker or something. So anybody who does this sort of thing, entertain other people, go out on a stage, whether you're a comedian, whether you're doing a Moth radio hour talk, whether you're a blues singer, makes any difference. You walk out on stage, you got to have those people right here, right in your hand. They got to feel like you have them, and you've got to feel like you have them. And when you lose that, boy, oh boy, that's when fear and anxiety really kick in an overdrive. So how do you do that? Well, you do that. You got to be, listen, you got to have chops. You got to be good at your instrument. If you're a singer, you got to be a decent singer. I've never thought I was a decent singer, but others do. And frankly, what else matters? That other people like what I do. That's really all that matters. I can beat myself up over my pseudo talents until I'm blue in the face. But it's, oddly enough, it's not about me. It's about them. It's about the people that are paying money to come see you do whatever it is you do. You have to put on a show. If you just go out there and stand there and play songs, you're going to put on a show and it's going to have pretty much no energy. I actually saw Willie Nelson many years ago, sat in the second row right in front of him, and it was one of the most disappointing shows I've ever seen. He stood there, he sang all of his great songs, and he sang them well, but he had no rapport with the audience. I'm sitting there thinking, Willie, you got a million stories. Let's hear a couple of stories, Nothing. And it was sad to watch, frankly. I thought he should have put on more of a show, but it's his style. It's what he does. He's Willie Nelson. Hey, I guess he doesn't have to do that. 20 some odd years ago, I was in a green room with B.B. King, and I had the unbelievable benefit and privilege and honor to play with him a few times. And we were in the Foxwood Casino, and I had done 2 shows with him down there. And the second night we were there, I was in a rap with him. At the time, he was doing 320 shows a year. They had 2 weeks off. The remainder was travel time. And he played everywhere, all over the world. So, and when I was with him, it was his 50th year of touring, not just playing, but 50th year of being on the road. And I asked him, I said, hey, do you ever get anxious or nervous when you walk out on stage? Because just around that time, I had just been able to control my anxieties to the degree where I could stop vomiting before a show. I used to get physically sick before I walked out on stage. I was so nervous. I've gotten over that, but I'm still twitchy and nervous and anxious before I walk out there. his response to me was, he looked at me and said, when I'm standing in the wings getting ready to be called out on stage, I'm terrified to go out there. I said, you have to be kidding. You've been doing this for 50 years and this doesn't go away. I said, why are you worried? And he said, I'm scared to death that I'm going to go out there and I'm going to know that I only have 90% of my audience. I don't have them all in my hand. And when that day comes, I hope I have the wherewithal just to stop doing this. And it was really eye-opening to think that somebody who was the crowned king of the blues and B.B. King, what would he ever have to worry about? And, you know, he would go out, he always looked great, you know, his blue glitter jackets or his other different jackets, he always looked the part. And I was convinced after that conversation that part of it is if you go out with some confidence and you dress well and you express yourself, not only through your wardrobe, but through your demeanor and your ego, that you're out there on stage and you say, yeah, I got this. I got this. I know what I'm doing. And not only do I have this, but I have you. I have you right here in my hand. I'm going to tell you a little story about my younger brother, Curtis Stannard, who was a fabulous bass player. I played with a band called the Huge Members. Johnny Azier on drums and Rick Reddington on guitar, and my brother Kurt, three-piece band, and they just had an amazing sound. So here's a little story on Showmanship. They were doing a show at Killington. They're doing the Allman Brothers Whipping Post, and at the end of that song, it builds up to this huge crescendo. As anybody know, I mean, you all know this song. If not, go hear it. And just as they are approaching the crescendo of Whipping Post, they blow a fuse. The power goes out. Instead of panicking, which is what most bands would do, Johnny Azier starts this soft, rather incredible drum solo. Rick Reddington whips out a handkerchief, one of those red paisley handkerchiefs he happened to have in his pocket, rolled it up and walked over and tied it around my brother Curtis's eyes. Dwayne Carlton was in the audience, and Rick got a cigarette from him and lit the cigarette and stuffed it in my brother's mouth, and I don't think he even smoked cigarettes. And then Rick walked all the way across the stage and held his guitar up, aimed at my brother, while Johnny Azier is into this explosive now drum solo, really, really playing his brains out. And they created a firing squad with Rick aiming at my brother with his guitar. It was no words. It was totally impromptu, totally spontaneous, totally captured the crowd, had the crowd totally in their hands. And just as they were at the apex of the firing squad, the power comes back on. And they go right into the end of Whipping Post, right exactly where they had left off. That, to me, was genuine showmanship, no joke showmanship. When you get stuck on stage, instead of panicking and freaking out, which is what you want to do, that's what your brain's telling you to do, the show's going off the rails. Find something immediately that recaptures the moment. That's showmanship. Overcoming adversities, overcoming fear, overcoming your anxieties. And I'll leave you with this. I'll leave you with a quote from Tim Russert, who used to host the Meet the Press show. And he was doing a stint on Don Imus's show, Imus in the Morning. And Imus had asked him, how can you possibly interview all these hideous, horrible people and not just want to run away screaming? And Russert's reply was something that I have carried with me for years now. And he said, Don, if you're going to show up, act like you want to be there. That's showmanship. Put everything you got into a show. And sure, really nice clothes help make the show. You will never see me on stage wearing a pair of shorts. You will always see me looking the part. And part of that reason for me is that I pay homage to those who came before me, who created this fabulous music that we call the blues. I try to pay homage to those people, and I try to do it through my appearance, and also through my chops and through my vocals. But mostly, I want to recognize who they were and what they did. For me, that's showmanship. So I hope this is helpful. I mean, it's more than just the show, is what I'm trying to get across here. It's more than just the show. You have to find a way to deal with your fears and your anxieties, and to put all that stuff in a box and trot your sorry butt out on that stage and give them $1 million show every time you do it, every single time. Fail none. The time you fail one time is the day you stop doing it. So there you have it. That's what I know. This is my fancy outfit, Beacon Streetlight. But again, I'm just talking to you people. I'm not playing. If I was playing, believe me, I'd look different. Thanks for listening. I hope this is helpful. See you later.